Hi there beautiful souls, Avalon here, and today I would like to do a March favourites video. I haven't done a favourites video for a really long time, and that's mostly because I'm a bit busy. And sometimes I even get a little bit lazy, but something delicious has happened this March, and that is that I've had an incredibly fun time just paying attention, really grounding myself into the moment and actively acknowledging that which I am getting a lot of joy out of utilizing. So basically what I have done is everything that I have fallen in love with for the month of March is currently placed on my table at this moment in time. So I'm going to take you through my favorites for the month of March, tell you why I love them so much, and let's just have a bit of fun with it. Yay!
Firstly, I just wanted to show you what kind of energy I'm working with as far as sacred space goes, so that you could understand sort of my process, so to speak. I have set up quite a delicious sacred space for this particular autumn, and I'm really enjoying the energy that I have created right now. So everything that I will be more or less outlining in this video will be in reference to what I have created in my personal sacred space and how I feel about certain objects. I'll be pulling a few little extras in and showing you anything that doesn't or can't fit on my altar at the moment, or my reading table will be shown as well.
Right, so I have some tasty things to show you. I'm going to get really excited as I go through, because I have been having a ton of fun with the things that I've plonked on my little table of late. When I say little table, I'm not quite sure if this is an altar. I'm not quite sure if this is just a sacred space. I'm not quite sure if this is a reading table. It is a temple. If I had to give it a name, this is my temple. This is the place where I sit to be uniquely and authentically me. So I'm going to go with the term temple. Let's start off with crystals. Ooh, the sparkles. For the month of March, I have found myself getting really quite into amethyst. And amethyst is a stone that I absolutely love. I have a lot of amethyst. If you looked in my collection, then the stone that you would see the most is potentially amethyst, and clear quartz would be another. But when the transition from summer to autumn came in, I felt very called to put beautiful statement pieces of amethyst on or in my temple space, starting with this beauty. I call her Storm because of the beautiful specimen that she is. Look at this orb, sphere, crystal. So yummy. Listen to the geckos. It's so yummy. Oh, look at that. Isn't she magnificent? She's magnificent. And I have sentimental attachment to this particular stone because many years ago at a gem fest in central Queensland, I went with my dear old dad, and we walked up to the table where this gentleman had a ton of beautiful specimens, probably weighed a ton as well. But beautiful specimens, not just amethyst, just all different kinds of gemstones and crystals, and you name it, it was there. And I walked over to this one and I connected with it instantly. Amongst all the other stones that were there, and there were many beautiful stones, I connected with this one instantly. And as I looked in it, my head started doing the usual spirit work activation process where my head just goes like this. And my dad looked over at me and he noticed what was going on, and he understands my processes more or less, and he's familiar with spirit work and he knows what it looks like, you know. So he just went, oh, and as I toddled off to ground, he went behind my back sneakily and purchased this and then gifted it to me. And I was just like, oh my God. It became my #1 scrying stone after that moment, and it has a particular sentimental attachment. So in keeping with my theme of amethyst, I also have these beautiful, well, this beautiful geode that's been cracked in half, and here we have it. Now these babies, they were found, created, cracked open, whatever you want to call it. Well, not created, but cracked open up at the Atherton Tablelands Crystal Caves store. and they've got this beautiful crystal store up in Atherton Tablelands where they have one of the largest amethyst geodes in the world. And I think the name of that geode is the Princess of Uruguay or something along those lines. But there were these beautiful geodes and you could crack them right there and then. So my dad's like, no, crack one, crack one, crack one. And I'm like, oh, okay. You know, I love me some rocks. I'm an earth sign. I love me some crystals. I was dying to see what was inside, and lo and behold, it was amethyst. It was amethyst. And I love this. It's very womb kind of energy. When I put it together and open it up, it's just like, it feels very womb-like. And then I do have a cluster on my table right now of amethyst that's far too heavy to lift, and it's got a few pieces of crystal on top of it and a few pendulums on top of it as well. But here is the last piece of amethyst that I'm going to show you, and this one here was one that I acquired myself. I went into the crystal ball bookstore not for this, and I came out with this. I came out with this. Seems to be a theme that happens to me. When I go out for a crystal, I seem to come back with either a piece of amethyst or a piece of clear quartz. And I just loved it. I thought this would look beautiful in my amethyst collection. It had a really nice, gentle energy. And as soon as I touched it, I felt very kindred to it. And that's how I personally select my stones, is when I touch it, I feel it, I interact with the energy. It gives me a feeling, a hit, an intuitive hit, a message even sometimes. And then I purchase it in that manner, or I acquire it, or I pick it up. Because crystals, these types of crystals, are not the only kinds of stones that I work with. I go out and I work with beach stone and river stone, and, you know, I like stones, essentially. I found this really interesting thing, and that was that I was very sentimental towards amethyst this time round, and I work with amethyst a lot. Like I said, I've got a lot of it in my collection, but I felt very sentimental towards it. I realised that it's because the bolder amethyst pieces that I have in my collection, the quote-unquote statement pieces, I guess, they have all been gifted to me from my father. And I love my dad. I love my dad. He is the kindest, wisest, most understanding and accepting individual I know. And so I have this association with amethyst and my father, and the nurturing aspect of my father, which is, I know, a much more feminine quality. But my dad is a very nurturing man, and my mother is not a nurturer. She's just not. She's not a nurturer. She doesn't nurture. She's not, you know, sensitive or you know, she doesn't want to have that kind of exchange with you. But my dad is always and has always done that, and that's to be interested and be up close and personal and have that understanding and listen and hold space. He's that person for me. So I found myself very sentimental about amethyst, and now when I look at my amethyst collection, my amethyst, each and every piece of amethyst that I have, is in honor of my dad. Every time I buy a piece of amethyst from this moment on, from the month of March onward, it will be in honor of my father. That is his stone. And that is something that has come to me as of the time of March. So I dedicate my entire amethyst collection to my father. And that was a really nice realization and a really nice understanding and just a really nice thing to do. So another crystal would be this beautiful peach selenite. Oh my gosh, this beautiful peach selenite is rocking my world. You would not believe what I have discovered. And I have discovered that if I do these ones, just run it across my upper body, it immediately calms me. It immediately calms me. It takes me out of that stressed state of mind, that mummy stressed state of mind where I'm parallel processing in my mind, where I'm trying to multitask, where my kids are calling my attention, and where I'm starting to feel very restricted like this. And I just run it up and down my body or my upper body like this. And it is such a beautiful reaction. And I found that out by pure accident, just by experimenting one day when I was doing live Google Hangouts and trying to do a live Google Hangout with the lovely Alvine, and we had so much technical difficulty. I just picked it up and I did it intuitively, and once I did, I'm just like, you're my go-to thing. You're the thing that I want to go to all the time, and I must have you in my space, and I must have you in my space. And I love the calming effect that it had on me. Now, of course, this is a bit of an obelisk and it has a point on it, so you can work with the point and do whatever you like with it. But for me, the way that I'm using this is by doing these ones, and I'm loving it. Makes my eyelids immediately heavy, so I know that it's working on me. In keeping with stones and crystals and all that lovely thing, I have also been playing around with fluorite. So these 2 pieces of fluorite plus the one that's sitting on top of my soul cards are stones that I have on my table right now in my temple space. This beautiful faceted piece of fluorite is the first faceted piece of crystal that I purchased when I came to Australia. So I was 16 when I bought this. I was 16 when I acquired it, and oh my God, was I just like in love with this. I was obsessed with it for years. And then my collection grew and I acquired that one. I think it was in Port Macquarie some time ago, along with my purchase for the Llewellyn Tarot, And then there is the piece that is sitting on top of my soul cards right now. And look at this gorgeous banded fluorite. It is stunning, absolutely stunning. Now, fluorite for me is a study stone. It is, I'm very sweaty. It's a study stone. It is something that I utilize to help me to retain information, to clear my mind. It's a very mindscape stone for me. Personally, for me, that's my own unique take on it. And I have such an interesting experience when I'm studying with fluorite and utilizing fluorite with rosemary. Which brings me to the herbs that I have on my table at this very moment in time. So at the start of autumn, I just went, I want this thing, I want this feeling, I want this thing on my table, this energy, this essence, because I wasn't getting it from my environment. Summer for me this year dragged on. It dragged on like a fucking motherfucker, and I was pissed off because I was hot. And when everybody else was like, oh, it's so beautiful and cool in my neck of the woods, and oh, I can put on a cardi, I was like sweating my ass off still after the autumn equinox, and I was just outraged by it. I kept on screaming at the sky, like screaming at the sky. It was incredible, the reaction. I was very frustrated, very irritable over it, and so I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to create the environment that I wish to see outside in my space, and hopefully that will allow me to anchor into some of that autumn energy that I have a right to be feeling at this time, but have been naturally robbed of it. So, sorry about the rant, but I have pulled in rosemary, beautiful pieces of dried rosemary. This one here came to me by way of coven ritual, and a beautiful coven sister of mine grows rosemary, beautiful amounts of rosemary, and she bought it in fresh format to create this circle and an outdoor ritual. It was very beautiful, and then of course it was left here, and I took that fresh rosemary and I began drying it on and in my temple. Along with that, I have sage drying as well. I have, oh, let me see if I can reach for it without disturbing too much. There we go. And this is jasmine. These are jasmine leaves. Also of that same ritual. I also have pieces of cinnamon and star aniseed, lavender, which is very scattered, and little baby rosebuds. All scattered on my space right at this moment in time. Now, the rosemary is for protection. It's for clearing space of negative energies. It's also for work on my memory. I have been studying a lot, and I've been reading up a lot, and I've been trying to retain information, but of course I'm a sleep deprived mother. So my chances of retaining anything in this day and age is slim to none. So I need all the help that I can get. So rosemary is here for that. As a protective herb, as a space clearing herb, it is one of my favorites. It's also great for cooking. And if you have the essential oil and you have an itchy scalp or dandruff, you can actually add drops of essential oil to assist with that situation. Sage is one of those herbs for me. Let me hold up some sage here. This is common garden sage that has been grown. It's tangled up right now in my rosemary. I've got a lot of rosemary on my table. So this is common garden sage here. And it's drying. I've got a few pieces of it, a few clippings of it on my table right now. And sage for me is a wisdom herb. It's a botanical, and it is a herb that is so ingrained in my memory bank. And each and every time I burn sage, whether it be white sage or common garden sage, or I just smell sage cooking, it just ignites these beautiful memories. It lofts me into these you know, memories in my life from when I was really young, and I could smell sage being used in my space. Sage, Palo Santo, frankincense, they were the things that were burnt in my household when I was very, very little. And so I have this connection to it, and it's very connected to the earlier spiritual experiences that I've had. Aside from that, sage is a herb that has a rich ritual history. And the way that it is used to this day and age, and the way that it has been used cross-culturally speaking, is absolutely magnificent. And so it's just such a kindred herb to me. Now I know that sage isn't for everyone. Not everyone likes the smell of sage, and I can understand that. It's got a very distinctive aroma, but I don't mind the smell of it. In fact, I just love it. It makes me feel a tremendous amount of comfort, and it makes me feel peaceful and centered and grounded. It's very good for space clearing. It's very good for smudging. It's good for creating temple space or sacred space, adding that essence of spirituality and clearing out the unnecessary rubble, energetically speaking. So I love it for that reason. Star Anise, this baby, reminds me of the crone. It has a heady aroma. It's a very deep, heady aroma. It's a very distinctive aroma. It's a very distinctive taste as well. And so the star aniseed specifically reminds me of the pentagram, which reminds me of earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. It reminds me of witchcraft. It reminds me of the crone, of the great dark mother, and the aroma matches that energy that I get. And so I bring it in to bring that essence of crone, that essence of wisdom, that essence of primal wild woman, with the wisdom of the ages and an understanding of the necessity to balance dark with light. And so it is here for that, precisely that reason. Rose is for my mother, my mother. Rose is for the mother in the triple goddess scheme of things for me, and rose is for my mother. Wherever I have gone in my life, rose has been something that she has grown in all different kinds of varieties and all different kinds of landscapes. And we as a family traveled a lot, you know, internationally and nationally. Wherever we were, we travelled a lot, and rose was something that she always cultivated, whether it be in pots or planted into the ground. Her roses just grew. They just grew so beautifully, and they were just so perfect, and they were so aromatic, very perfumed roses. And so I've invited the energy of my mother into this space as a crone in her own right. She's in her 70s now and is a witch and is a practitioner of the arts and perpetuates the wisdom that she has cultivated. And she's also ailing in her old age. She's not coping well with transitions in her life, and so I choose to honour her at this time of the year. I choose to remember her at this time of the year of the descent, and her life force and her strength in the form of rose. And the aroma of rose is so recognisable. It is such a recognisable aroma. It's very gentle, it's very feminine, it's passive, but it also reminds me of blood, because most of the roses that I've interacted with in my life haven't been pink, they haven't been white, well, quite a bit of white, but mostly red. And in Brazil, when I was growing up, we used white rose petals to give ourselves ritual baths, to calm the spirit, to calm the subtle body. And so I have affinity with roses in such different ways, so it's incredible, and I choose to have it on my table here at this time of the year. As far as cinnamon goes, cinnamon is a bark for prosperity. It is a bark for wisdom. It is a bark for psychic development as well. Prosperity is, I guess, what it's mostly used for, and of course cooking. When I was a wee little girl, at times of winter, when all I wanted to eat was porridge, I would have porridge sprinkled with cinnamon, and so it has a comforting aroma to me. It's also a bark that was wildly cooked with, widely, not wildly, but wildly as well, but it was really cooked with when I was younger, and my aunts and my mum and my grandma really cooked with cinnamon. And so I choose to bring that into my space because it gives me that reminder of this legacy of beautiful women that helped to cultivate the practice that I stand and have to this day. So cinnamon is here, and of course lastly, and I don't think I've forgotten anything, lavender. Lavender is for sleep, it's for calm, it's for happiness. It is also for prosperity, but the aroma of lavender just lulls my stresses in a way, and it just keeps me very calm and very grounded. So I just love it, love it, love it. Okay, one of the other things that I have been using a lot at this time of the year, of the month of March, is, and it's not on my table, but it's been used on my table, is this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful little besom made by the Moon Box. That's baby's breath. And I thought to myself when I unboxed this, what shall I use this for? And then, of course, I sat it on my table and I allowed Spirit to guide me, and I began dusting. I just dusted it over, energetically dusting it over my crystals, my cards, all my goodies that are on my table at the moment, and just to clear the space before readings, before I sit down here to do any kind of work. It's just a dusty, dusty one. Oh, I love it so much. And it really has helped to just raise the vibration. That, and of course, another thing that was gifted to me by the Moon Box, which I fell in love with, is this cedar and sage wand. It's a smudge wand. Now, I've spoken about sage already, and I don't usually burn sage in my temple space here. I usually burn Palo Santo, so holy wood, Palo Santo, which is ingrained, a scent that is ingrained in me. But one morning, I believe it was a Wednesday, I came out and I was preparing myself to do a full day of readings. That's the day that my children are in daycare, so I put that day aside. I don't even have lunch. I prepare everything ahead of time, and I sit down and I commit to the process, and I'm here in temple space for a long time. And I began that day with this impulse to reach for this cedar and sage. And I thought, I need some healing energy. I need some healing energy. I think I'm going to do some really heavy readings today. And some of the clients that came to me came with really heavy, subjects to explore. So I thought I'm going to clear it out really well. I'm going to bring that sense of healing. And look at this beautiful wand. It's so beautifully bound. And it did just that for me. It really elevated my space. It brought in this real sense of nurturing, of crisp, and clear and open and free energy. And I thought, how beautiful, how beautiful. So I began to use it, and I began to weave it with Palo Santo. So I would do Palo Santo, cedar and sage together, and oh my gosh, did it not create the most delicious temple space ever. The Palo Santo brings that aspect of ancestry for me, and it elevates the vibration of the space to bring in an essence of spirit. And sage clears the room, and cedar adds this element of healing, this nurturing, motherly element of healing and of clearing in a very different way. And then I was reminded, as I was burning it, that cedar wood was the first oil that I had ever purchased. When aromatherapy in my region became a thing, when you could walk into a store and you could buy an oil burner and you could buy essential oils, when that was just coming out on the market, I, of course, was like vaulted into this I must have you mode, and I bought my first burner, which was this beautiful blue marble, light blue marble burner with a beautiful little ribbon. I bought some candles, and the very first oil I bought was cedarwood oil, and I remember it to this day. The smell of a wet rainforest. Oh my gosh, how I meditated with that smell. I was obsessed with my oil burner at the time, and it was cedarwood. And so when I started to burn that, I'm like, wait a minute, I recognize that scent. Oh my God, vaulted into a memory again. So I've been very vaulted into memories. Another thing that I have been working with is my beautiful obsidian obelisk athame. This was a gift from a dear, dear soul many, many years ago. Someone who I loved very much at the time and still am very good friends with. And this was a gift, and I will never part with this, of course. But I don't use it all year round. Now, as an athame, I know this goes against the norm because an athame is a double-edged blade. So this is part athame, part wand. Essentially, it is a means of directing energy for me. And to hold it is beautiful. It has a rainbow obsidian orb at the hilt, goddess face, pentacle. It's very, very beautiful, and I have had this for a very long time. I've looked after it very carefully, and I have been utilizing it in the creation of sacred space, in the removal of energy, in the establishment of circles, and I've been having a really great time with it. So reminded of its beauty, reminded of its energy, and I don't always reach for it throughout the year. It is something that catches my attention at this time of the year, at the darker half of the year. So I'm really enjoying utilising it. Let's get on to, let's get on to some cards. I'm going to start off with some oracle cards. So underneath a piece of crassicula, rough piece, beautiful, beautiful rough specimen, is the Earthbound Oracle. This is the Earthbound Oracle by Skull Garden. And let me come in a little bit closer for you. The Earthbound Oracle has stolen my heart. The imagery, while non-convoluted, is still detailed and very beautiful. It has depth. It's got this crisp clarity to it. And as a reader, it's got this crisp clarity to it. To use in conjunction with tarot is remarkable. The way that it opens up a reading, the way that it opens up a card message is incredible. To journal with, to journey with, to get to the bottom of a deep wisdom that might be sitting in the subconscious at any one given moment. It is incredible. I have come to this deck throughout the month of March and just asked it to pull out some wisdom from me, and it has been so incredible. So incredible. And I've got to say that I am impressed, beyond impressed, with this particular deck. The craftsmanship of this deck is superb. The stock is incredible. It has a really sturdy stock. It is a smaller than usual deck, which is perfect for my tiny hands. So I've got quite small hands, so it's very, very small. The cards have a matte finish, and it is amazing to shuffle. It just feels really yummy, and it's amazing to shuffle. So this is the Earthbound Oracle. I highly recommend it. Highly, highly, highly recommend it. The next oracle deck that I would like to show you, that is sitting under a beautiful piece of clear quartz, another stone that likes to haunt me, is the, let me bring it up nice and close, hopefully it will, let me see if I can, there we go, is the Animal Spirit Oracle by The Wild Unknown, and the artist is of course Kim Krantz. So this deck, beautiful cardstock, this deck has been amazing for me. It has been so kind, so nurturing, so wise, so honest with me. Now I've got to say, I have a few animal decks, and this one is all of a sudden, as of the month of March, my favorite. Above all others, it is my favorite. It is divided up into categories, elemental categories, so earth, air, fire, water, and of course spirit. And the choice of animal within this particular deck is something that I'm very connected to. I love the way that the artwork expresses the essence of the animal. I feel like in a totemic sense I can really connect with the energy of these creatures as they are depicted, and it's been very, very natural earth healing in that regard. And as I prepare to transition in another way in my life, I've got a very big thing happening in my life. My family and I have this very big thing, and it's been very exciting, and we're building up to it, and we're trying to figure out how we can get it to happen and work and all of that good things, all of that good stuff. I have been reaching for wisdom for this deck especially, and another one which I'll show you shortly. And so this is a beautiful, beautiful deck, and I've been infinitely impressed with it, and both it and the Earthbound Oracle have been rocking my world. Now I wanted to show you this because this is part of the Animal Spirit Oracle. So this is the fold out that you get. So everything is in elemental categories down below, and so you've got the list of the creatures and their keywords and their elemental associations. Then you've got, of course, some spreads up here. You've got the elemental symbolism there so that you can understand that. And then on the backs of each of these is a different animal. So depending on which deck specifically you will get a different backing. So not everyone has these. And I got the dragon. I got the dragon at a time when dragon was very, very, very much a thing in my life, and is starting to become a thing yet again. So Animal Spirit Oracle absolutely beautiful. Packaging is gorgeous. The packaging of the Animal Spirit Oracle is way better than the packaging of the Earthbound Oracle. The Earthbound Oracle is just a tuck box, whereas the packaging for the Animal Spirit Oracle is a solid box and very beautifully crafted with a nice little message on the inside of the box. So, they are the Oracle decks. Now, we've just done Oracle decks, so I may as well go ahead and do Tarot decks. Now, let's take a breath, everybody. How can I say this? The deck that I'm about to show you has been in my collection for the longest time. It is the first edition of this deck, and I could not connect with it. I assume you know what I'm going to talk about right now. I could not connect with this deck, despite the fact that everybody else around me was connecting with this deck. I could not connect with this deck. And then I became moderately repulsed by this deck, because every time I looked on social media, I looked online in any way, shape or form, images of this deck were staring back at me. People with tattoos of cards from this deck were staring back at me, and I just became overwhelmed and I shelved it. Now, I have tried to connect with it time and time again. I took it away with me on my 6-week adventure down the east coast of Australia, and I tried to connect with it then. I made sure that I took it and only one other so that I would use it, and I still did not connect with it. And then I left it. I left it for ages. I left it for ages. And then finally I came back to it this autumn, the wild unknown, and I get it now. I found a good place with this deck. I have utilized this deck in unison with the Animal Spirit Oracle. Obviously they are of the same make, and the artwork is really beautiful, and the synergy between the two is absolutely gorgeous. And I started to reach for this deck to force myself to go there, and I was really surprised at what I got, the voice that I got. It was not what I had expected. It was a mix of clarity and nurturing, and coupled with the Animal Spirit Oracle, it has been incredibly, incredibly helpful to me for my spiritual development and for allowing me to go through the motions as I make some really big choices, some really big decisions in mine and my family's life. So I have been coming to these two decks for counsel, for grounding, for understanding, for wisdom, for a way, to show me a way that I can do what I need to do. And it has been so, look at that, what a beautiful image. And it has been so good to me. It has been so good to me. It's been so wise. It's been so nurturing. It's been very honest. It's very concise. It's very clear. And it just has a voice that I need at this moment in time. So maybe I just needed to wait for this moment, for this exact moment. And so I have been working really hard with that particular deck. Another deck that I have reached for that's been in a box for a little while, I've decided to go there again with this deck. It's one that I love. It is the Prisma Visions Tarot by James Eads. And look at the beautiful silver gilding of this deck. Now, I originally purchased this tarot deck while it was on Kickstarter. My beautiful friend Jules, she let me know about it. She's like, oh my god, this deck, you need to buy it, you need to get it on Kickstarter, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay, onto it. And I looked at it and I went for it immediately. And I got it and I was very impressed. The stock is beautiful. It's a gloss, and the major arcana is bordered, but the minor arcana is not. And when you can build a full image, a full landscape image of the minor arcana, which is very clever. So it has that about it. Aside from that, it has a really romantic voice. Now, this is not a romance deck. This is not a deck that you would look at and go, oh my god, it's romantic. Not like, say, the Tarot Muka would be romantic, or the Victorian Romantics Tarot, or you know, something along those lines. It's not like that. It has a romantic voice. It has a poetic voice. If I had to describe this deck in terms of a person, I would describe it as the beautiful English poet John Keats. I'm a big fan of Keats, and that is the type of romance that I'm talking about, the voice that it echoes. As art, if I had to describe the artwork, then it's reminiscent of Van Gogh. And as a tarot deck, it is a very, very gentle but honest reader. It presents you with what you need to know in that moment in time. Nothing more, nothing less. So it's very clear. And so I've had a tremendous amount of fun with this deck. and it comes in a beautiful box as well. It, The Wild Unknown, come in a beautiful box as well. Right, so I'm also reading 2 books at the moment. We're attempting to read 2 books because I'm far too busy to actually dedicate time to reading because I am a mother and I have lots of things going on at the moment. But I'm continuing on with the Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard, and I've got the King's Crown, so it's the next installment in that series. And I've just started it, so I don't have too much to say on the matter, but I really enjoyed the series. You know, to help me relax my mind, I went for a young adult fiction series, and it was recommended to me by a few different people, and I'm one that really likes young adult fiction. I like lots of different kinds of genres, but young adult fiction is great for relaxing my reading brain. It's really fun, it's exciting, it's just very youthful, and it has all the saga that many of the other genres have, but it's just a very youthful saga, and I like it for that reason. So it relaxes me when I'm too overwhelmed with heavy research or with heavy study. Then I go for that. And then I've got on the sidelines Norse Gods and American Gods by Neil Gaiman. So I'm really looking forward to getting the opportunity to read those books. And the idea of reading to me is just so romantic. It's so, when I say reading, it's relaxing. You know, it's really enticing and relaxing, but I don't get a lot of time. So here's hoping that I manage to finish them before the end of, at least one before the end of April. So that's it. They are my March favourites, and I have really enjoyed connecting with all of the objects, all of the pieces, all of the yumminess that I have shown within this video. And yeah, so let's hope that I can do it in April favourites, maybe, who knows. So that's it. That's all I've got for you today. Much love and many blessings. Mwah!